What the actual fuck is with Florida? Seriously. Trigger warning, by the way. I'm in a bad fucking mood, and this is going to be an NSFW fucking live stream. So if you're at work, you might want to shut it off, or at least put some headphones on. This has not been a good day. This has not been a good day. It started out as a good day. I woke up, I started doing my exercise, and you know what actually happened? Shit got fucked up. All right. I won't go into details, but I'm in a bad mood. And I don't even really give a fuck if anybody sits through this entire live stream. I do want to say hello to the chat real quick, though. Hail to One Man Show. Always here to watch the happenings and see the nonsense. And I'm glad you're here, sir. I will apologize for my mood, but there's no fixing it at this point. I'm just in a bad mood. And yeah, just fuck. All right. And everybody's going through some shit right now. My homie Drew just lost his best friend of like 17 fucking years, Will. And like, I didn't even know until a week and a half after it happened because I'm not on fucking Twitter. The stupid cocksucking bullshit that Twitter is. Like, fuck. One Man Show says, sorry you're having a bad day. Thank you, sir. It is what it is, I suppose, as most people would say. But the bad mood will hopefully go away eventually. But I will say that hearing about Florida every day is getting really, really, really fucking old. And this is a place that I used to want to live. I honestly did. But honestly, right now, I wouldn't mind if it got fucking chopped off the fucking bottom of the United States, floated out into the fucking water, or fucking sank, for all I give a shit. Because this place is a shithole. All right. I live in Colorado. All right. The Colorado, super fucking duper place of socialism and idiots raising taxes all the time. But I would rather get shot in my left testicle than ever set foot in fucking Florida if this is how things are down there. All right. And we're not even talking we're not even talking about fucking DeSantis. All right. Everybody who knows me knows that I'm not a lover of Democrats in any way, but DeSantis is a fucktard, a legit fucktard. And everyone that voted for him seems to be fucking stupid too. You know why? Because they put him in office. But the state that he runs is a gigantic fucking garbage hole. Gigantic fucking garbage hole. One Man Show says Twitter's still a thing. Never got into it myself. Yeah, you're not missing anything, bro. Never being totally honest, I've had a huge weight lifted off my shoulders since I stopped with all that social media bullshit. I'm literally on Gilded in here. That's it. I didn't even bother setting up the Rumble stream for this one because it's like, what's the point? Fucking Rumble. Okay. Yeah. Fuck. One Man Show disappeared into the Bermuda Triangle. That'd work, wouldn't it? It would. Just push it right out there, let all the methane bubbles just tear it apart and call it good. Because you know what? We would have less drugged out dipshits and assholes to hear about. Florida man. Used to be hilarious. Now it's just fucking shameful, if you ask me. The way Florida carries itself and the people that live there carry themselves, even though it's a small minority that's represented in the shit fucking news that we always see, I will just come out and say, if you live in Florida, chances are you ain't high on my list of fucking good people. Just saying. Hail to Lester San Jose. How you doing, bro?
Hanging in there, man. Just glad the weekend's here.
I wish I could say the same, but
no, I get it. I get it.
Doing any fun training and shit lately?
No, it's just getting my School of Hard Knocks and YouTubering. that kind of training.
YouTube's a fun place, isn't it?
Well, just realizing hit that record button, but then you don't hit the record button. Or wait, your recorder is recording both of your monitors again. So one of those kinds of things. So it's
Yeah.
just
Sounds
yeah,
about right.
yeah, and just trying to figure out if I want to invest in Streamlabs or StreamYard, and that's a hefty cost.
It is. It is a hefty cost.
It's like,
Crazy.
do I want to do a live stream? I thought about it, and like, what time would I do it at? Because I'm still more of a consumer than I am of a creator or provider, if that makes
Right.
sense. Now it's like,
Absolutely. Yeah. One man show says, not strangely, notifications not working again. There you go. It never works. As a matter of fact, I'll take a moment to rail against YouTube as well. They changed the user interface on the mobile app, and now it's like way harder for me to navigate because I don't really use YouTube on my phone that much. And I went to just share out this live stream on the Gilded, and I had to literally search for my own channel because there's no your channel button that I could find in the app anymore. And I'm like, okay, well then show me my live streams on the studio at least.
right.
You know, but no, that doesn't happen. If it has a schedule, it doesn't exist in the studio. It's weird. And of course, you know, YouTube has a long history of just being shit because they ruined their base code so long ago, they can't fix it. So, yeah, there's my rail against YouTube being stupid for the day.
No, we had plenty of that. It's like
right?
being on Valiant's stream last night was, given it was a members, he could speak a little bit freely.
Yeah.
And he's talking venue prospects or where, because like me, I was about to throw in the joke that I wanted to do a little funny joke on this idea of mechanized things being an epidemic of sorts. And if I were to be on video and make a joke about it, like if I buy a stethoscope, I might as well buy one of those Fisher Price stethoscopes so I don't get fact checked. We don't know if this is worthy information or whatever the phrasing is. It's like, I'm just throwing a question out there. Can I throw a question out there?
No, you're not allowed to question things. What?
It's
That's
like
not allowed.
It's like certain words that apparently some people aren't allowed to say, or they get the triangle of death or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. But anyway, no, I'm looking at your title, the one about drugged out dipshit and assholes in Florida.
Yep. Florida man, all over the place again. This first story, as a matter of fact, will blow your mind the further we get into it.
Sure, try me.
Pretty standard headline saying heist gone wrong at urgent care in Gainesville ends with arrest. And there's the winner of the day.
Dye the hair a little, keep up the hair. You got Ezra? Anyway, heist gone wrong at urgent care in Gainesville. Okay.
This is crazy. So,
sure.
A heist at an urgent care in Gainesville resulted in comedy of errors after a man rappelled from the ceiling wielding a butcher knife. Thinking he's Ethan Hunt all of a sudden. Just before 7 a.m. on Thursday, Gainesville police officers say a man later identified as Ted Steinman, 36, pried open a vent on the roof of the care spot, and then he rappelled down to a beam and then climbed down a decorative piece of plastic that fell from the roof. Steinman fell 15 feet, bringing the ceiling tiles down with him. Yeah. Inside the urgent care, he ripped multiple locked cabinet doors off and hammered locks off storage room and caused a damage estimated at $10,000. As if that's not bad enough, an employee walked in the back door and saw Steinman with a wheelchair loaded up with items, attempting to leave. He was holding a butcher knife in one hand and a laptop in the other. The employee confronted him, and he put the knife down, abandoned the wheelchair, and ran away. He was able to steal a set of keys and $192 in petty cash.
Wait,
Minutes-
wait. Is that a legit spelling? In petite,
It's
I get,
yeah.
but
I think they did it wrong because
yeah.
they didn't even spell petite right. So I'm assuming this person meant petty, but they didn't know the actual word for it
Were
because
they
they were
doing
probably
this on
school
their
educated.
Were they doing this on their phone? That's what I perished.
Probably,
Yeah.
probably just $192 and a set of keys. Wow. Officers spotted Steinman, who matched the description given by the employee, near an abandoned building on Archer Road, wearing a cast and walking with a cane. According to the arrest report, Steinman gave the officers a fake name and claimed to have a twin. The old twin defense. When has that ever failed? As One Man Show says, clearly a genius at work. Yes, he has a twin. That's who did it. He was found with the stolen items that his twin took and taken into custody. He claims the injuries were due to being beaten up, but officers suspect they were caused by the fall. Okay, like I said, drugged out dipshits. This guy is clearly not the brightest bulb in the box. He's probably not the best representation of the Florida population, but it's still kind of annoying that these people just like do whatever they want.
Right.
It's insane. One Man Show says, it was my evil twin brother, Nunzio. Swear, stolen goods. I'm just holding it for a friend. Yeah, that's probably exactly how that went. You know, he was fighting off the fentanyl lean, and he's just all like, no, that was my twin brother.
I get it. I wonder, of all things he can get in urgent care, whatever he got, that was all?
Yeah.
You know how much they charge to go to well, yeah, how much they charge people for urgent care visits?
Dude, for real. Like here in Colorado, just walking in the door of an urgent care costs you $195. I mean, come on. And I mean, he could have just treated his injuries there in the urgent care, right?
He's like, here's the 192 again. You're gonna charge me? Here you go.
You know, if the employee walked in, he should have been like, "Hey, bro, can you cast my arm real quick before I run away from the cops?" I mean, hail to Nate D. He says, "Hail Cory and hail Lester. Hail, hail."
Is that the ghost of Nate Dogg?
Nate Dogg. One Man Show says, "Can you charge them the same for walking out?" No, obviously you make $192. I mean, come on. Massgrave. Socialist Colorado doesn't have cheap health care. Imagine my shock. I know, right? It's insane. My doctors, the most common phrase I hear from my doctors when I go in for a checkup is prohibitively expensive, which means it's literally too expensive for a person like me to afford. Which is why I'm still just dealing with the bullshit that I deal with all the time, because you can't get treatment in Colorado unless you're a rich person or an illegal walking into the ER with absolutely no intention of paying whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I mean, this guy clearly firing on all cylinders, watched too much Mission Impossible, and then decided that was a good idea.
I could do that too.
Oh, dude, I could totally do that. Like, watch this, and while holding, like, anyone who's ever worked in any type of like office setting that has a drop down ceiling, knows that shit's not stable. I mean, you don't even have to be a smart guy. You can be a teenager and realize that the drop down ceiling's probably not going to support anybody's weight. Hail to Tolbat. He says, "Hail, sorry I haven't been around much." Hey, it happens, bro.
Yeah.
Life gets crazy. All right. Yep. So
agreed.
No worries whatsoever. I mean, have you ever done any rappelling?
No. I try to climb up a rope. I can't do that to save my life.
So I took some rappelling courses, we'll call them, when I was younger. And I feel like repelling is probably the wrong word for what this guy did.
Okay.
I'm assuming that when he pried open the vent, it was like a 2-foot drop into the air duct. He probably tied the rope to one of those wire things that holds the ceiling to the actual roof of the building.
Uh-huh.
And like the plastic thing that fell out of the roof was probably attached to the ceiling tiles he moved, meaning there was no stability whatsoever.
Right.
And then he fell.
Right.
I mean, gravity always wins. Nate D says, once I destroyed a drop ceiling with a pawn shop katana. It's not hard to break those ceilings, dude. I mean, honestly, the only time it's hard to make those ceilings like come apart is when you need to replace the tiles in them. Like, that's
Yeah.
the only time it's actually a pain in the ass. Falling with style. I'd love to see the video. Maybe there is a video of him falling. Let's see. I want to see, but no footage. That sucks.
Oh, that's too bad.
Because that would have been great. Yeah, shit is made out of cardboard. Yes, it is. It is made out of cardboard. And like, I've seen more and more people trying to get through these drop ceilings safely to rob places.
Yeah.
And every time it ends the same way. My favorite one is actually from a few years ago where the guy is breaking into a liquor store and he made it to the drop ceiling and then it gave way and he landed lengthwise over a rack of liquor. And it's like, blah! And the whole rack, of course, collapsed. And he falls down on the ground and there's like booze and stuff all over the place. He's holding his back like, 70-year-old that just woke up. And, he's like, oh, and you know what he did? He walked straight out the front fucking door and was like, screw this. My body hurts now. He didn't even take a single bottle of liquor. He was like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, people. I probably shouldn't be giving you this advice, but listen, just some friendly thief's advice for you, okay? Don't go in through a drop ceiling.
Do not.
Find another way. If you're going to do it, find a way that's not going to break your hips, not going to break your back, not going to convince you have an evil twin that's robbing these places for, and then giving you the stuff. Just, and stay off drugs. Drugs are bad, okay?
Okay.
Mr. Mackey taught us that pretty well.
Exactly.
Right.
Marijuana's bad. Okay.
Marijuana's bad, okay. Fentanyl's bad, okay. I mean, come on. Now, the asshole portion of our stream today comes from Fox News.
Oh.
And
debates?
No, luckily it's not the debates. We've all been to a theater. We've all wanted our preferred seating. Sometimes it doesn't happen. In modern day, people buy advanced seating so that they can have those seats, right? Some people don't give a shit about that. And a Florida moviegoer beaten after asking a couple to move from his reserved seats. Yes, he had VIP seats, and these people just went nuts. I won't play the video that's here because it's actually pretty brutal.
Okay.
I will just come out and say this is not racially motivated for me saying this, but it is a black guy. Okay? It's a black guy and a Latina chick acting a fool, as they used to say. But it's crazy. Insane what these people do. All right? A simple favor to ask a moviegoer to sit in his assigned seats turned into an all-out brawl. That's not true. It turned into an ass whooping of a 63-year-old man asking for his seats.
Oh, wow.
All right. 63-year-old man reserved these seats for him and his wife to go out and have a nice movie night. And these fucking slack-jawed retards decided it was a good idea to just beat the crap out of him for asking what he actually rightfully paid for. I mean, Massgrave says, I'm doing drugs right now. I'm going to be doing drugs later, so no worries. One Man Show says, thanks for the prompt. I need to do some drugs too. Yep. As Weezer said, we are all on drugs. It's ridiculous. So he asked these people, the man and woman, sitting in his seats, and he asked if they would move, and they got hostile. And there they are, the winner chicken dinner motherfuckers. You know? And he's dressed like he probably does a lot of drugs. Footage shows the interaction of this man standing up and getting in his face.
Okay.
Right. And then seconds later, homie punches him in the face. All right. Repeatedly. And there's his winner chicken dinner of a bitch girlfriend, too. I believe she actually came out after the dude's wife, as a matter of fact.
Oh.
The sheriff's officer called the attack callous, which makes sense. Said that the victim has several injuries to his head and face and was taken to the hospital for treatment. Authorities said that Thornton and the woman he was with immediately fled the scene, and they arrested him in Fort Lauderdale after a 2-month-long investigation. So this was 2 months ago that this happened, and this lovely piece of humanity was just running around, probably beating old people in homes and doing stuff like that. You know, he probably like robbed his mama's house to get some crack cocaine or some shit. He's facing 1 count of aggravated battery with great bodily harm. Well, yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I've never cared enough about a movie or where I'm sitting in a movie to beat the shit out of somebody.
Well, on the flip side, it's like, what hill is one to die on? So,
right? Is that it?
It's like, I feel for the 63-year-old man, but it's like, homie, you can watch the movie in another seat, or if you really need to, it's like, I'm 63, and they're third of the age. They're close to a third of the age I am. They could probably beat the shit out of me.
Well, see,
yeah.
With him being 63, my thought is like he probably thought there would just be some kind of civil interaction, right? He would walk up and say, he probably even did it nicely. He was probably like, "Excuse me, sir, we paid for these seats. Can we have them back?" And dude just went off on him because I don't think that we should live in a world where common decency is that dead, where you shouldn't even be allowed to ask for your paid for seats in a movie theater. And while the old guy could have taken another route, I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, this fine, upstanding gentleman, I hope, has a gigantic Puerto Rican friend inside the jail that's going to show him the meaning of "I papi." Okay. All right. I hope this man winds up looking like an improperly cooked man-made donut.
Right.
You know, Mia Khalifa size holes on this man.
Yeah.
Because this kind of behavior, I don't give a fuck where you are, shouldn't be acceptable. And I don't mean any offense, but why is it always the black guy? Yeah, the guy that did the repelling shit into the thing was a white guy. I'll give you that. White people do stupid shit to steal drugs. Apparently, and this is not racially motivated, but just from observations that I've had recently, it seems like black people, especially in Florida, are incredibly violent. And I'm not trying to be racist. I know plenty of black people who are peaceful. They are nice people. They're church-going, loving individuals. Florida. What the actual fuck, bro?
Well, it just goes to show that for all of that sector of the population, when it comes to Florida, they have such a tunnel vision about what the state really is. Just because of Ron DeSantis, they just get glued to him and realize that state is a lot more open-minded than you want to give it credit for. I'll say that much because, you know, watching certain things on Gutfeld, and this one of the gay black contributors said, "Yeah, I go to Florida all the time for fill in the blank that community because as long as it feeds the economy, feed the economy. It doesn't matter what. It doesn't seem to matter what part of the population you belong to."
Right. I just get really sick of hearing Florida man.
Yeah.
Florida man did this. Florida woman
Yeah.
did this. Florida this, Florida that, Florida this, Florida that. And it's like, you know what? I know that every state in the United States is shit in one way or another. It
Right.
is. Every place in the entire world has its problems.
Sure.
But, and I know that this is part of a gigantic smear campaign by the mainstream media, Fox News included, to make Florida look like a terrible, lawless place.
Yeah.
And I get that. But legit, I have never seen a place more in need of a vigilante in my life. Like, we need fucking Batman in Florida. All right.
Yeah.
I don't care if he's Cuban.
Gotham City.
You know, we thought Gotham was New York, but hey, maybe it's Miami. Maybe it's Fort Lauderdale. You know, like, we need Batman. Period. Like, I don't normally condone taking the law into your own hands, but the police are minutes away when seconds matter. Always. So, we need Batman.
How about making criminal punishments public knowledge?
That would be nice. It's because Florida's laws make criminal acts public knowledge. This is true. You're not wrong. If they were smart, they would at least have some like checks and balances for the media. But
yeah.
He says in Florida, you have to admit Chicago and New York need Batman more. My only response to that is we need to wall off Chicago, New York, and LA and just make them into super prisons. Okay? Snake Plissken will take care of any problems that show up. Like, I mean, honestly, certain parts of the United States just need to be removed from the United States. All right? You know, Chicago and New York are definitely two of those.
I know this will create some stink, but everyone talks about Border Patrol being international, but we do have a thing called state troopers, do we not? And if you want to protect your state's rights, you know, I think states have a relative level of sovereignty because, you know, we're not supposed to look to the guy in Washington, D.C. in all reality. It's like he's the last or she's the last of our concerns.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to an individual state, if I were to redo it, and if I was a guy protecting, say, the state of Oregon from a guy like me coming from California and seeing what California has done, I think every state, if they were taking on this account of what is available to them and what they can make available to its own populace, they would say, can't take it. You see what kind of crap we're going through? Our roads are not being maintained. We got homeless prowling about. Yeah. And I know it's every man for themselves to a degree, but I think every state, every nation has to protect its relative sovereignty. Like a place like the United States, there are boundaries, and we know that there are boundaries that states cannot cross. We know there are boundaries the feds shouldn't cross, you know. But I know that will create a shitstorm because, hey, sorry, we want this influx. It's like, hey, come on over. But it's almost like when you step into a state, take your California hat off first,
please,
and then start learning to wear a hat, and then figure out where your Cali fits, if at all.
If at all. And most of the time it doesn't, because California has some really weird ideas. Tolbat says, Florida, you have guns, bro. Defend yourself.
That is true.
If this old man would have known, he probably would have. I mean, if we're being honest, he just probably thought it was going to be a nice little like exchange of like, can I have my seat? Sure. Sorry, my bad. But no. I mean, can I have my seat?
But that's where profiling can come into play. As much as people like to poo-poo profile, you've got to have. It's like what helps us to determine what method of communication we're going to use. Like now, I don't know what the odds are, but I'm not going to go up to a granny and be like, "Hey, ma'am, blah 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 blah." I'm not going to be like that unless I don't know. She has to be a deliriously looking grandma. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In order for me to put my guard up. But for someone like that, dude, I mean, just the mug alone, like, yeah, it looks like the guy looks a little sus.
Yeah, he's a little sketch, and you know, maybe the old man could have thought about it a little bit, but that's what the faith in humanity gets you. Is it gets you punched in the face.
Yeah.
Tolbat also says you're not wrong about walling them off. The entire West Coast needs to be removed from USA.
Hey, wait! After I come over,
Yeah,
after
after Lester gets out, we can then just close
all
it
it
off,
off.
set some deep seismic charges inside of, you know, a couple fault lines and just like give it a nice little push. You know,
Yeah, it's
get it
called
unstuck
natural
like
selection.
that one Evergreen or Evergrande or
Natural
whatever.
selection.
Right? Tolbat says, look out, it's coming right for us. Yep.
Too late.
It's here. He also says, I mean, certain countries in those counties in those states can be left in. This is true, but I mean, it's a package deal, bro. It's a package deal. We could evac those people and just be like, sorry, you don't live up to social norms. You know, it might take a minute, but, you know, we could get rid of most of them because, like, a lot of the people that I have problems with in Colorado are from California, Florida, and Texas.
Whoa, talk about a combination.
Yeah, and it actually shocks people in Colorado when you come across a native. They're like, whoa, you were born here?
Yeah.
Why haven't you left yet? It's like, well, I can't afford to leave, but there's not really any better options to go to at the moment. Not unless I want to get punched in the face over a movie seat or, you know, any random shit down in Florida. Texas, I wouldn't mind living in Texas as long as it was like Gulf Coast Texas.
Okay.
I don't want to live in the desert.
Yeah.
And I'd rather live somewhere that doesn't have land borders with Mexico. So
yeah, I hear you. I'm curious because I follow sports. I don't follow college sports, but I do follow certain movements like Deion Sanders going to Boulder. I think that's where CU is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how far apart the various towns or cities are, but are you noticing that kind of ripple effect? Because based on whatever I was listening to on Denver radio, that he's pulling all the stops, he's getting all these transfer dudes, and I don't know if you notice that affecting your town.
My town is kind of weird.
Okay.
I live in a place that votes and passes all of these crazy laws and has all of these weird shit that happens.
Right.
But it doesn't ever affect anybody.
Okay.
It's weird. Like, we pass tax ordinances and we see absolutely no change in anything because it was already ludicrously expensive. You know, we decided recently to release Canadian wolves into the wild, not too far from where I'm at. And I'm like, okay, are you guys aware of Canadian wolves being far more aggressive than our wolves and being far better hunters than our wolves originally were? Like, the elk population needs to be controlled, but you should just give out more passes for hunting instead of releasing an invasive species into the mountains.
Right.
But Tolbat says we can separate the counties when we wall off Cali, Oregon, and Washington. Make it like the districts in that In Time movie where you have to be able to pass through the walls and stuff. One Man Show says, I don't see the big appeal in Florida. Most of the few people I know have actually moved here from Florida.
I honestly was tempted to move to Florida because it was about as free as, because being in that cluster with with Washington and California, they were like, oh, what's California doing for the mask game? Oh, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Where's your critical thinking there, buddy? And all the while, Florida is like, we don't care. We know the numbers are going to just peter out because science.
Yeah. And see, as weird as this is going to sound, Florida would still be my top choice if I were able to move out of Colorado. But it would be very specific small towns in Florida
right.
that never see anything like Florida man. Like, there's this one place down there. I think it's called Niceville.
Okay, I think I've heard of it by name.
And it has 3. It only needs 3 sheriff's officers.
Okay.
For the entire town, and the police department is a phone booth.
Okay.
All right, that's my kind of fucking place. They have a mullet competition every year, and I'm talking about the fish. I'm sure there's plenty of people with mullets down there. Don't know why it's coming back, but they have a fishing competition for mullet down there every year. It's nice and peaceful, right on the coast, and you never hear about it in the news. It's one of my favorite things. I'm, you just type in, let's take a look at the news. Type in this specific town's name in Florida, and boom, it's not there. Oh, that's a good sign. Right. Trollbat says, panhandle out in the country, away from towns, alone sounds best to me. If I were to go to Florida, yes.
I mean, where I'm at, I just, because I work from home, it's like I'm already isolating myself as it is, and I'll go to where I want to go, where I know, like, I have a theater up the road and other shops I can patronize, and I'll go there. I like, the only time I go outside of my immediate city limits is go hang out with my friends, and that's it. And when I do go out, like you said in the Gilded, like, stay. Well, I chimed in. I said, "Stay strapped or you get clapped," something like that. I'll bring something with me. I'll bring my mechanized puppy.
See, and like out here in Colorado, I would love to be able to go out and go to the nice places in Colorado, but they're all like 6-7 hour drives from where I'm at.
Okay,
you know, like 3 hour at the minimum to get to a place that I would classify as nice during the summertime. He says, at least Lester has friends. Yes, this is true.
I try.
But
I think that's the other thing too. It's just like going back to the question of what hill are you willing to die on? I joke with my friends, is be thankful I count you as loved ones, because in an emergency scenario, if you're not my loved one, as much as I know there's a good Samaritan and I know what that means, like, I have to really find a need to help you, because I can't help everybody. And plus, there's a legal component I may or may not want to deal with at a later time. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I live by the code that if I have the ability to help someone and they need it, I am obligated to do so.
Yeah.
And I apply this when I'm in the grocery store, helping old ladies get shit off shelves, helping people push their cars off the road, et cetera, et cetera. But I found myself being much more selective recently regarding when I'm going to help people.
Right.
And like half the time, my wife looks at me like I'm a psychopath when I'm like, I'm not helping that person. Like, and this is probably going to put me in a bad light for a few people, but we were over at King Soopers the other day. Okay. And they have this big old dirt lot next to the King Soopers.
Okay.
And this dude comes in on this mini bike. All right. Anyone who's driven a mini bike knows that they're not stable.
Okay.
At least you should. And he hits the dirt and it fucking slides out from under him and he flap right on the ground, right? All of these people all around just started scrambling over there to see if he's okay. And I was just sitting in the car just going, wow, that sucks. Like, it's too bad for that guy. And my wife's like, well, shouldn't you go help him? I'm like, no. Like, he's got plenty of help. It's fine.
So to Talbot's question, no, but I have a niece and a nephew. But I also have friends that are like family, because I've been to family dinners and the kids think they can get away with being mouthy or being different. It was like, no, but Lester's here. Like, no, he's family. So that gives the parents license to be truthful with the kids. Like, just because I'm there and their presence, I think the parents would adjust. But I've heard it more than once. It's like, he's family. Yeah. And I will take it. Because I'm the only one of my family up here. And so I've been blessed and thankful to have people who count me as family. So To Talbot's question,
Indeed.
I get where you're going. I get where you're coming from, and there are a lot more. I have my boundaries and I know my distances. There are some people I know who I feel closer to, but they may not reciprocate the closest, and I've come to terms with that. But I will still treat them as if they're my brother, even though they may not reciprocate it. But there are some I go, homegirl, after what you did, it's like, shh, there goes the wall. You know,
Right.
you just kind of know. I've been around enough to know that. Um,
Uncle
no, I
Lester.
get it. No, I get it. So it's just I think we've been around life enough to know that people are acquaintances and associations more than or no more than that. And then you have friends who are really friends.
Yep.
I've been through that whole network level marketing pyramid scheme, pyramid scheme to know, oh, they only contacted me for that. They only became friendly with me for that. And sure, I might have treated it quid pro quo, scratch your back, I scratch yours, scratch my back, I scratch yours. So I thought I'd get a training partner. But once that thing fell out of sorts, it was like, okay, I see how it is, homie.
Yep.
So
I've had quite a few friends like that in my life where I thought they were friends and then I needed a wake up call on the fact that they were just using me, for lack of a better term.
I'll bet that was one of them. There were others.
Family.
There were others. My mom was trying to get my sibs and me into another one. I forgot what it started with a P. Principal. I don't know if it was it was like some financial thing, and then the third one was Transamerica. Which was WFG World Financial Group. So they tried to recruit me, and you hear all these stories about, yeah, this is setting me up for, and like, yeah, but you got to pay into taking all these tests, and I get it, but do I need to be in some sort of pyramid scheme to do it? Yeah.
So
yeah, go ahead.
I have a question regarding the Florida stuff because you're a fairly intelligent individual. I mean, obviously we haven't compared intellects in any way before, but what do you think Florida should do to curb the Florida man bullshit that we're constantly seeing? Tougher laws, less news reporting.
I don't know about tougher laws. See, this is where I get concerned about what we've seen in terms of lawmaking. There's a time and a place to want to prevent something, like preemptively, right?
Right.
But there comes a point where people don't fear the consequence, and people will think that's caveman like thinking. But the thing that scares me more, well, enforcing the laws, yes, but a lot has happened where we've enabled recidivistic behavior.
Yes.
And that falls on certain DAs of a certain stripe in a specific region or a specific set of regions in the United States. So I'll take Chicago. So sorry, Cory, if I hurt your channel in any way, but when Lightfoot was mayor of Chicago, and I think it's still perpetuating in Chicago, they went, stop gun violence. All these gun shootings, like, means people don't understand that what feeds the machine, like, it's just a tool, right? And you will do anything to get what you want. And for me, being I'm trying to be a law-abiding citizen, to my recollection anyway. I haven't been booked for anything, but I would say that I have done what I need to do to obtain certain privileges. Having my paperwork so I can carry my mechanized puppet in my person. So I can carry that on my person, and I know what will happen if I get caught. in the midst of even just the mere act of defending myself, I have to know the law inside and out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes it tricky. Because although I may know the law inside and out, you never know. You might really resort to your primordial, and next you know, you get booked with a felony, and there goes my privilege. So if people had the fear of consequence for various crimes, and as the joke goes, and following certain sports media, prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law.
Yep.
And it seems like there's a disparity when it comes to certain acts and their prosecutions, meaning like the sentencing. So for something heinous like pedophilia or assault of oh god, did I say that? Oh, sorry. Again. No, yeah. Anyway, so offenses against a minor, especially ones that are heinous in nature, I think there was at least one case, to my recollection anyway, where the guy got pretty much a slap on the wrist if you were to do some comparison of how much time he spent in jail.
Right.
So that's what I mean. If people were more afraid of committing the offense, or at least of the consequences of getting caught. I'm not condoning that behavior, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, because for the law-abiding citizen, or those who are trying to be law-abiding citizens, it seems like more is at stake for us if we do something in defense of whether our loved ones are an innocent party, or at least ones we believe within the most amount of reason to be innocent. You could still end up behind bars.
Yep.
For a much longer period of time, just like that whole thing about the thefts in California, especially when they had that threshold where if it's under a certain dollar amount, you can go away. At least the depictions in the media talk about dudes going in out of stores, just getting right below the threshold.
Just below, yeah.
And so it's like, if you don't want to do the time, then don't do the crime. That stupid cliche, but it's true.
Yeah, it is true. And the time needs to be adequate to stop the crime from happening. It needs to be a deterrent. Tolbat says, crack down on homelessness and drug programs, getting illegals out. Also, cracking down on traffickers of the drugs causing these problems. Maybe Florida should wall itself off. He says, legalize marijuana and eliminate all previous charges for solely that.
There's a danger in that kind of panacea type thinking, because people will think southern border. But I would implore you guys to look up what's called the Vancouver model, where the Chinese are using triads to funnel money laundering in Canada, especially Vancouver, where there's a predominantly Chinese community.
Yeah.
So as much as people talk about the southern border, and yeah, there are dangers. I'm not discounting that. There are dangers because people talk about the immediate stuff coming from the southern border, like the illegals. But a lot of people from other parts of the world are using the southern border to get to the United States. Like the Middle East, even China. Even folks from China.
Yep. So, and the northern border thing is getting really crazy right now. Sure. So we have a major influx of illegals coming in from the north.
And nobody covers that.
Nobody covers it. And it's always the southern border where they're like, oh, the Mexicans and all these people from across the world are coming in through Mexico. And it's like, okay, but you're having like 3 times the amount of people successfully come over from Canada. But on top of that, we also have people coming from the United States illegally crossing into Canada. And the United States has just signed an agreement with Canada that those people will be deported immediately back to the United States. We don't even have that policy with Canada, that we're going to send your people back. But we just decided that, our people aren't allowed to go to Canada like that anymore. Like, I'm not legally allowed in Canada in the first place. It's a weird law they have regarding the amount of DUIs I've had. only had
Oh,
2,
jeez.
just to put everyone's minds at rest. It's only been 2, and I haven't had a drink in over a decade, or almost a decade. How long has it been? It's been a long time. But the thing is I'm not legally allowed to enter Canada because of my DUI. But all of these other people are just like flowing over the Canadian border into places, like New York, of course, and then like places people don't think about. Like Montana has seen a sharp rise in illegal immigration from the north. North Dakota, the wonderful communistic blue state that it is, it has been receiving a lot of illegal immigration from Canada. And nobody talks about that. They only talk about southern border. It's only Mexico. It's only Cuba. It's only pick a South American country that these people are coming from, And I'm aware of people from like Europe using the Mexico route to come up through into the United States, but they're doing it much more successfully and quickly from the Canadian side.
Right.
But the places they're going also allow them certain rights that you wouldn't think about. Like New York is a sanctuary state, I believe. And New York City at least is a sanctuary city. And so they can go there and practically become full functioning citizens without having to pay the taxes. And it's kind of crazy because employers are allowed to hire these people because it's the sanctuary place.
Yeah. So to address Tolbat's point, China has sent many. So it's funny. If there's a guy I listen to on Patreon, Dark Secret Place. I don't hold everything he says in gospel, but he does raise a perspective to think about. That according to what he's found, China has been sending a lot of its Ministry of State Security personnel to universities throughout California to do research. And sometimes you would see the idiocy, and there's another channel I watch on YouTube called The China Show. These guys lived in China for 10 plus 13 years, and they will point out a lot of the propaganda BS. So you'll find some degrees of idiocy among even those within the MSS.
Mm-hmm.
That some dude said, "Oh no, I don't work for the military," and then he goes, "Oh yeah, I work for the military." What is it? And so sometimes the idiocy will show, but there have been a lot of Chinese infiltrating universities.
There has been, and we've actually heard several news reports about these people being caught as spies. Tolbas, I'm going to answer this question, actually. He says, who is coming in from the north? The Chinese? It's not just Chinese people. There's, not that it's surprising, but there's a lot of Ukrainians crossing through the northern border right now. There's a lot of Scandinavians crossing through the northern border, and there's surprisingly a lot of African population individuals coming over, and we're talking like Uganda, Nairobi, places like that. It's really crazy. Tolbat says more families are crossing with their minor children from the northern border. October 1st to December 31st, 2022, 6,709 migrant families crossed from Canada compared to the 1,500 during the same time period in 2021.
Yeah.
And this is very important because we spend so much time focusing on the southern border. We don't really pay attention to the fact that Canada, who is a terrible fucking country, by the way. They're run by a dictator. I don't care what you want to call him in official terms. He's a fucking dictator.
And depending on who you listen to, their elections might have been fixed by the CCP. Yeah.
Go figure, right? That's crazy. They have very strong ties to China. Which surprises me that they're attacking a BRICS member. I figured Canada would join BRICS at some point, but
yeah, I guess they don't want that brick house.
It's really crazy when you look at Canada and everything that's going on over there right now.
Right.
They talk about free healthcare in Canada. Okay. But let's talk about free healthcare in Canada. That's a 2-year waiting list for basic procedures, something like
Right.
that right now.
Yeah, something like that.
Free, costs you your life, which they're fine with because they just want you to commit self-deletion anyway.
Yeah.
They don't value human lives any more than China does.
Right.
That's why they're such good friends with China, because they're like, people are fucking worthless, eh? And that's just how that works. Tolbat says, on a snowy March afternoon, a small convoy of taxis and hired cars rolled north along the New York country road that dead ends at the Canadian border.
Okay.
Among those on board was a Nigerian family of 5, a Russian man traveling alone, and a tearful South American woman named Giovanna. Basically the same folks from the South, just less. Yes, and less doesn't mean that it's less of a problem.
Right. I think it's also because of the asylum seekers, because there's been an influx of those. And and again, going back with the carte blanche, panacea type of stuff. And I think the elephant in the room is people are, when it comes down to the acceptance of migrants, they have this weird appeasement of a funky self-conscious or a funky sense of conscience.
Yeah.
And growing up in that family dynamic of saving face, especially in the Asian culture, and at least for the Far East Asian, I don't know about India, Near East, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But I know in Far East Asian culture, saving face is
huge.
Huge. It's huge. Like
huge.
My mom will do what she can to present a good front for her friends.
Yeah.
And that's why you find a lot of Asian families comparing each other and their children. Oh, what's your son doing? What's your daughter doing? What school did he go to? It was like, gee.
Oh, is he doctor? No.
Yeah. So that idea of saving face is that for their sense of self-conscious, like, I don't want to be known as unwelcoming. I'm not tolerant.
Right. It's very similar to the housewife mindset of the 1950s.
Okay.
Just saying. You can continue.
Yeah. So that idea of the appeasing the self-conscious, and that's why they do, it's like, hey guys, we're Sanctuary City. Come over. We're going to accept you. We're not going to prosecute you, even though the big one that when I was still living in California, the big one was that incident in San Francisco where a known illegal, I forgot what happened, but basically he wasn't deported like he should have been deported.
Right.
And he ended up, I forget what what happened actually in detail, but basically murdered one person or maybe a parent and a child.
Right.
And so, and then all of a sudden you get this weird sense of like, hey, we're welcoming, we're open to everybody. We're not going to judge you if you're illegal. And next thing you know, you get pushed back by those same said sanctuary cities. What are you doing? We don't have the infrastructure. Just like every other city.
Right.
If every state were to take stock of what they have as far as infrastructure, not just the national grids, but just even their own, like, people want to say, come over to us. Look what we've got. And yeah, you want that instant gratification of the funding going to your state and your local economy, but do you have the infrastructure to support the influx? And
right.
There's a lot of homelessness. It's like urban planning. Yeah, go ahead, Tolbat. Let's see.
Yeah, Tolbat says 10 million on the southern border and 20,000 on the north. Hate to be the bearer of bad news, and Canada sucks. They encourage suicide and are commies. We should take Canada over. Only if we can turn it into like northern farmlands of some kind. He says these are not migrants. Also, these are invaders or illegal migrants, have temp jobs lined up, come in and work and then leave. We had them when I was a kid on the farm in our house. They even had special housing set up when they came. He also says, sorry, I spam.
No, you're not spamming. No,
yeah, no. It's fine.
This is why the comment section was created. If we get to all wonderful But what you bring up is very poignant. Like I I'm not that I don't want to rat out my family. I just know that my family on both sides, they done what they could. They try to go the legal route to make a better life for themselves. But that's the difference between certain minority groups. And this is the other thing about just the greater culture overall is they think a minority is a minority is a minority. But
Right.
even within the Filipino sphere, I think I mentioned this on a few other streams. Like people think a Filipino is a Filipino is a Filipino. No, no, sir, not even within the what they call the Philam community.
Yeah.
We're as equally divided on the matter. And even my friends who are Hispanic, more of the Latin American, Mexican ancestry, they're even divided on that. So it's like, who speaks for what community? And I don't know. I don't know if we should even make that claim that I'm speaking on behalf of all American Filipinos because I grew up in a different part of the country.
Right.
I was fortunate to live in San Diego where the Filipinos have already established themselves to a good enough extent. Like, hey, a bakery here, grocery store there. I had all the comfort food I can get in San Diego at the time.
Right.
But say someone like, because even I get floored when I find out like a Vietnamese American contact of mine online. He said he loves living in North Carolina. He had lived in New York for a lot of his life. He's like, no, man, I don't know how you do it. Living when you live. And he's like, man, go out to North Carolina. But I am still curious because I still have that leftover, whatever you want to call it, about the South and Asians don't.
Right.
But when I went to Tennessee, yeah, there might have been one other Filipino lady, but there's some Asians in Tennessee. It's not like a wasteland, if that makes sense. It's just and I don't know what their experience are. I don't know what their feelings are. For me, it's like we talk about what the rules are and what we can do to make it work for us.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay. We need to end birthright citizenship for.
Yeah, so it says we need to end birthright citizenships for illegals, and that stops the problem. Look, immigration is fine. If your family made it in, be happy. We have to stop it now. North Carolina isn't bad. That's where I am.
Okay, yeah. Well,
he says, Lester, we need to have a chat, bro.
However you want to do it. Like, if you want to hop on as I don't know if he's a member or if you want my contact information. I don't know how you is he on the Gilded? I'm on Gilded. I'm what kind of chat? I'm more than happy to chat it up with you.
Hell yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we're actually past the hour mark now.
Oh wow.
So we're gonna get ready to wind down, but let me just check something real quick.
Sure.
I don't think Tolbat is on our Gilded, but hail to Jason Fox from 540 Studios. Came in last second. How you doing, bro? But we are going to go ahead and wind down now. Lester, why don't you just tell them where you're at and what they...
Yeah, my channel, as you can see in the AKA, is the Skeptic Tank. That is the YouTube channel mainly. And I don't really come in hot and heavy, but a lot of what I do is first-time walkthroughs of games that I didn't get to play. Speaking of which, I didn't know that the video would do as well, but I guess it's also due to the thumbnail. Like, when I played the game, and this is a game from 1992, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, and why didn't they make that a movie? But as I was playing the game, it felt like it was a movie. And it's like one of those choose your own adventures. That one did well within the first 48 hours, 24 hours of it being pushed out. And I thought it was a good game. And it's a point and click decision, choose your own adventure, and it's hilarious. And there was an event in that game that made my hair crawl stand up also. Just even for as pixelated as that game looked, it was a good effect. Well, the other, yeah, I know. The other thing I did was a game incident where the game is asking about your actual system hardware security setting. Why would a game do that? So I
Right.
did a whole spiel on that, and basically I did some more game pickups after I got my refund for that. It's like, oh, that's great, $99 back in my pocket. So
Yeah.
I talk about that, and I also talk about my venture into minimalist footwear. Mainly, I found out like one subscriber is still trying to find that perfect fitting shoe, and I, for myself, haven't found that except for my Vibram Five Fingers, just because they fit my feet like a glove.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna probably release another video about my experience with this recently set of shoes I picked up maybe a week already, and just giving more thoughts about it, even to the point of, is it better to wear the shoes socks or no socks? So stuff like
Yeah.
that.
All righty. Well, make sure that you are subscribed to Lester the Skeptic Tank. Hail to the gaming Jew. Wonderful to see you. He says, "Hail Cory and Lester the Legend. Hope chaps are doing well." It's been a rough day, but we'll see if it gets better.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to call it there, ladies and gentlemen. Catch me Monday, Cory's Corner and Dick's News US that night, as well as hopefully Monday Meltdown, as long as nothing gets in the way of that. I'll catch you guys later. This started out as a discussion about some dipshits and assholes in Florida and turned into an immigration discussion, and that's not too bad. That's not a terrible way for things to go. I'll catch you guys later. Stay sexy, don't get murdered, and as always, have a wonderful time. Bye.
See you around.